Her paw prints coated the window, as if she were trying to compose a message that no one could decipher. This is how I discovered Scarlet, a German Shepherd puppy of 4 months, trapped inside a scorching sedan under the Arizona sun. It was shortly after noon in Scottsdale, and the pavement gleamed like a mirage. I was heading back to my truck when I noticed the car, parked at an odd angle with the windows rolled up, completely exposed to the sun and utterly silent. Then, a small movement snagged my attention. I initially dismissed it as a trick of the light, a shadow moving behind the glass. But as I drew nearer, I saw her, huddled on the back seat, panting heavily, her little chest heaving rapidly, her black and tan fur drenched in sweat. She noticed me and pressed her small paws to the glass. There were scores of such marks, as if she had been pleading with someone, with anyone. I was frozen. My name is Rick. I'm a 41-year-old auto mechanic who has witnessed exploding engines, tires disintegrating at 80 miles per hour, and people surviving what they shouldn't. Yet, I had never encountered anything like this. A puppy left behind in a sealed car in such intense heat. She wasn't making a sound, neither barking nor whimpering. She was simply gazing, as though she had given up hope that anyone would arrive. I scanned the area. It was deserted. The strip mall parking lot was almost vacant. The adjacent store had been shuttered for a year. With trembling hands, I called 911, providing the license plate, location, and all the details. Then, I knelt by the car and murmured through the window, "Just hold on, sweetheart. Assistance is on its way." She remained still, only pressing her forehead against the glass before closing her eyes. Scarlet. I didn't know her name at that point, but I could sense it. I sensed the fire within her, the determination to live. Though she was silent, her fight continued. I rested against the hot vehicle and waited, listening to my own heart. But was hers still beating? The dispatcher informed me that a rescue team was en route, but every minute in that heat stretched into an eternity. The temperature that day had already climbed to 97 degrees, and within the enclosed car, it must have been over 120. I could see it in the shimmering air behind the glass and the way the plastic steering wheel was distorting in the sun. And in the center of it all was this tiny German Shepherd puppy. Her tongue hung from her mouth, appearing dry and pale. Her chest still moved, but its rhythm was slowing. I hunkered down by the window, shielding my eyes, attempting to connect with her. "Come on, baby. Stay with me," I said in a low voice, tapping the glass lightly. She flinched but did not look up. Her head sagged as if it was too heavy to lift. That was the moment panic seized me. I glanced around the lot again. A few people had passed by, most without a second look. One man in a dress shirt looked directly at me and remarked, "It's just a dog." I felt a chill run through me. Just a dog. She's a puppy, I shot back in my mind. She's alive. I stood and pulled hard on the door handle. It was locked, naturally. I went around the car, checking the other doors. All locked. The sun beat down on the metal like a forge, burning my palms. I considered breaking the window. I had a wrench in my truck, but I paused. If the glass broke incorrectly, it could injure her. Making things worse was the last thing I wanted. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I returned to my knees and continued speaking to her. "My name's Rick. I have 2 children. We have a backyard and a cool bowl of water waiting for you. You just need to hold on." She didn't respond, of course, but I felt she had heard me. Her ear gave a slight twitch. Her eyes fluttered. I could see that the pads of her paws were raw from being pressed against the searing glass. Her small body was now trembling. And then I heard it, the faint wail of a siren, growing steadily faster, closer, louder. But would it be in time? I stood in the center of the lot, waving my arms, my heart hammering. When they arrived, I was already shouting, "Puppy in the back seat. She's not moving." 2 firefighters leaped from the truck before it had fully stopped. One held a long, flat tool, a type of wedge, while the other wore gloves and carried a thermal scanner. They didn't lose a moment. One peered through the steamy window, and they acted with life-or-death urgency. Because it was. The man with the wedge inserted it at the top of the door and worked it swiftly but carefully. The other looked through the window again, murmuring, "She's fading, dehydrated, breathing is shallow." That was all I needed to hear. I had to look away. I couldn't watch. Then, a pop. The door was unlocked. They opened it with caution. A wave of heat, like opening a furnace, washed over us. And there she was, huddled in the corner of the back seat, her paws rigid, her body limp. The black vinyl had singed patches of her fur, and her breathing was so faint I thought I'd imagined it. One firefighter leaned in and gently scooped her up with gloved hands. "I have her," he stated, his voice strained. He handed her to me without a second thought. And just like that, I was holding her. Scarlet. She didn't struggle or bark. She just collapsed into my arms as if she had given up at some point. Her head lolled against my chest, and her fur was scorchingly hot. I could feel a faint heartbeat, but it was there. The firefighter mentioned the nearest shelter with emergency services, but his words barely registered. My entire focus was on this tiny German Shepherd puppy in my arms, looking like a melted candle. So still, so quiet. Then, she made a sound. A low, unsteady whimper. It wasn't fear or pain, but something different. Relief. She knew she was no longer alone. But could she survive the next hour? Scarlet was almost motionless as we sped her to the closest shelter with an emergency intake, Maricopa County Animal Care and Control. The firefighters insisted I ride with them. Perhaps they saw the look on my face, or maybe they understood she needed more than just oxygen and fluids. She needed someone to remain with her. The interior of the rescue truck was cool and sterile, yet my arms were slick with sweat as I held her tightly, trying to regulate my own breathing and keep panic at bay. Heat still radiated from her fur. Her eyes were barely open, half closed and unfocused, and she trembled intermittently, soft, involuntary tremors that made me hold her even closer. "You're okay now, sweetheart. I've got you," I whispered. It wasn't just a platitude. I meant it. I didn't even know this German Shepherd puppy's name, but in that moment, I was all she had. And in a way, I felt she was all I had, too. When we reached the shelter, the staff was already there with a gurney and 4 bags. They were quick and efficient, using cooling towels, administering fluids, and handling her with gentle hands. They carefully took her from me, and I followed them as if on autopilot. "Would you like to complete a witness statement?" someone inquired. I nodded, but my gaze was fixed on her as they wheeled her away. Just before she vanished through the doors of the exam room, she turned her head slightly and glanced back. That's when she was named. "Scarlet," one of the technicians said softly. "She has fire in her. She's still fighting." A smile broke through the lump in my throat. Scarlet. The name was perfect. Fierce, brave, and with a spirit still burning inside. I remained in the waiting area for almost 2 hours, my hands still shaky and my heart racing. I kept picturing those paw prints on the glass, the way she had pressed herself against the window, not barking or scratching, just hoping. A voice finally cut through my thoughts. "She's stable. She's sleeping now." I shot up too quickly, my knees almost buckling. "She's strong," the vet continued. "She held on longer than most would have. You arrived just in time." I swallowed hard, looking at the door that now separated us. This German Shepherd puppy had endured something no one should ever have to face: heat, fear, and silence. And yet she still had faith that someone would come. Was I ready to believe that, too? The following morning, I returned. I hadn't slept well. Each time I shut my eyes, I saw her in that car. The stillness, the heat rippling off the glass, those desperate little paw prints. When the shelter staff saw me enter, they smiled as if they had been expecting me. "She's more alert today," a tech informed me. "Still weak, but she's hungry." They guided me down a back hallway to a quiet recovery room. Scarlet was resting on a soft blanket in a temperature-controlled kennel, her forelines still gently taped to her paw. The instant she saw me, her ears perked up. Then she raised her head. It wasn't much, just a few inches, but it was enough. I fell to my knees beside her. "Hey, baby girl." The tech opened the kennel door, and I extended my hand. Scarlet sniffed it, then moved forward to nudge her nose against my wrist. I felt a profound pull deep in my chest. They brought a small water bowl, and she lapped at it as if she hadn't had water in days, which might have been true. She drank until they gently took the bowl away. Afterward, she rested her chin on my hand. I stayed there for hours, saying little, just observing her sleep. They told me she was approximately 4 months old, with no microchip or collar, and no one had called to claim her. No one was searching for her. "She's fortunate you found her," a volunteer remarked. A few more minutes, and he trailed off, not needing to complete the sentence. That evening, I asked if I could return the next day. They nodded. "She responds to you. We'd love that." I tried to act casual. I'm no expert. I just happened to be there. But later that night, sitting in my truck, I whispered to myself, maybe that's what matters. She didn't know my name or my past, but that German Shepherd puppy had chosen me the instant our eyes met through the glass, and I was already dreading what might happen if I had to let her go. By the third day, Scarlet was strong enough to stand. Her legs were wobbly and her paws were still sore from the burns, but she managed a few unsteady steps, looking around the recovery room as if seeing everything for the first time. The staff relocated her to a bigger kennel with a small glass wall that faced the hallway, a space for puppies needing quiet but no longer in critical care. I visited every morning and sat by her enclosure, reading or talking softly, simply being present. That's when I observed something. Periodically, she would halt whatever she was doing, eating, sniffing, or resting, and walk directly to that glass wall. She would stand very close, her nose almost touching it, and stare through it silently, not at me, but as if she were lost in a memory. One of the texts commented, "Some puppies, after a trauma, fixate on what frightened them most. Sometimes they never get over it." I watched her one afternoon as she stood like that for a full 5 minutes, completely still, her eyes wide and empty. I wanted to say her name, but something stopped me from interrupting. Not yet. Later, while slowly and gently brushing her fur, I found myself talking, not about her, but about myself. "When I was 9, I said quietly, I used to hide in the garage. My dad wasn't the type you waited for, so I'd sit behind the lawn mower and listen to the cars passing by. It felt safer than being in the house." Scarlet shifted and leaned her head against my leg. "I didn't intend to tell you that," I whispered. She didn't move. She just listened. That 4-month-old German Shepherd puppy, nameless until a week ago, had a way of drawing out words I hadn't spoken in years. Perhaps it was because she didn't ask questions. Perhaps it was because she understood something I couldn't articulate. She wasn't just recovering. She was showing me how to recover, too. I was unaware that someone had filmed it. The moment the firefighters opened the car door, the blast of heat, the way Scarlet went limp in my arms. I didn't even know who had shared it online. But one morning, I entered the shelter and a volunteer grinned, showing me their phone. "You've gone viral." I blinked. "What?" 2 million views. On TikTok. The comments are incredible. People are calling her the glass angel. I watched the clip. It was shaky and grainy, likely filmed by a bystander from across the lot. But there she was, limp and silent, her small form cradled in my arms. Someone had added gentle piano music and text that read. She waited, and someone came. The comments were overwhelming. I'm crying at my desk. How can people be so cruel, and others so kind? This puppy deserves the entire world. But one comment struck me profoundly. He didn't just save her, she saved him, too. I read it several times, and again later that night. Was it true? I had returned to work part-time, but a shift had occurred within me. I found myself gazing at the bay doors longer than necessary, listening to the silence more than the noise. And when I wasn't at work, I was with Scarlet, sitting by her kennel, letting her nap on my boots, and watching her cautiously learn to play again, as if joy were a foreign concept she didn't fully trust. She was gaining strength, her walk becoming steadier, her eyes brighter. And each time someone inquired about her adoption availability, a knot formed in my chest. "She's not ready." I would reply automatically, but I wasn't sure if I meant her or myself. That German Shepherd puppy had been stuck behind glass, and in a way, so had I. It began with a crayon drawing taped to the shelter's front door. It was a picture of a puppy in a sunny yard with the words, "For the window dog. I hope she's happy now." There was no return address, just a note on a folded corner from Lily, age 6. Soon, envelopes started arriving, dozens of them, with handwritten cards, notes from school classrooms, and even a box of dog treats shipped from 3 states away. One letter, written in neat purple ink on lined paper, stood out. "Dear Scarlet, I saw you on the internet. My mom says you're very brave. I was scared once too. When I got lost at the store, I cried until she found me. I hope you don't feel scared anymore. You're not alone. Love, Ellie, 7 years old." I read the letter aloud while sitting with Scarlet as she gently gnawed on a donated rubber bone. She paused, tilted her head, and then placed her paw on my knee. It was the first time she had done that. The shelter had displayed some of the notes in the hallway beside a photo of her sleeping in my lap. Visitors would stop to read them, some weeping, a few even asking to meet her. But Scarlet wasn't ready, or perhaps I wasn't. She had started following me with slow, watchful steps. If I left the room, she would let out a soft whimper. If I stayed, she would curl up beside me, content to just breathe and sink. Each day, she became more confident, playing with toys and sniffing the air when new people came in. But there was always a moment, just before she fell asleep, when she would glance toward the window and pause, as if to confirm it was open. The shelter director invited me into her office one morning. "Rick," she began, "Scarlet is progressing beautifully. She's officially been cleared for adoption." I nodded, my stomach churning. "We've had several serious inquiries. One family even offered to drive from Nevada." My voice was stuck in my throat before I could respond, because that German Shepherd puppy didn't look at them during their visit. She kept her gaze fixed on me, and I had no idea how to turn my back on that. That weekend, a young couple drove over 200 miles to meet her. They had seen the video, read the news stories, and called daily to check on Scarlet. The shelter set up a private meet and greet and invited me to stay for a familiar presence. I stood back as they entered the play yard where Scarlet was already enjoying the breeze, her tail swaying gently. She looked up as the couple neared, her ears alert. They knelt, offered treats, and spoke in soft tones. She took a step toward them, then turned and trotted directly to me. She didn't bark or growl. She just sat by my leg and leaned against it. I remained still. The couple shared a look and smiled politely. "We completely understand," they said. "It looks like she's already made her choice." I tried to laugh, but my throat felt tight. After they had gone, I sat on the grass with Scarlet. She pawed at my shoe, then curled up in the shade of my legs, resting her chin on my knee as she always did. Her eyes blinked slowly, steadily, safely. "You know this isn't fair," I whispered. I hadn't planned for this, but she didn't care about plans. She only cared that I had stayed. That night, I lay awake considering every reason I couldn't adopt her. My work, my schedule, the responsibility. I hadn't had a dog in years. My kids were older, and my life was settled, quiet, and predictable. But when was the last time any of that felt truly full? I stared at the ceiling, thinking of her alone in that car, silent, waiting for someone to notice, for someone to care. And I recalled the moment I reached through the heat, lifted her out, and how she didn't fight it, how she melted into my arms as if she belonged there. That German Shepherd puppy was indifferent to my doubts. She had already made up her mind. Perhaps it was time I did the same. The adoption counselor pushed the folder across the table toward me. My name was already printed on the top. "She's yours, Rick," she said gently. "She's been waiting." Scarlet was curled on a fleece mat in the corner, her eyes fixed on me. As I reached for the pen, she rose slowly and quietly, walked to the table, and placed her paw beside my hand. The room went quiet. I looked at her, at the burned pads that were beginning to heal, at the eyes that were once hollow and distant, but now focused and firm. She wasn't asking for anything. She was telling me, "I'm ready." So, I signed the papers, and I cried. Not loud sobs, but a few quiet tears that fell before I even noticed. The staff applauded softly. Someone gave me a small bag containing her vaccination records, a new tag, and a red collar with a tiny silver heart. "Welcome home, Scarlet," I whispered. She wagged her tail, not rapidly, but with a steady rhythm, as if she already understood the words. As we walked out of the shelter together, I held the leash loosely, but she didn't pull or lag. She walked right beside me, matching my pace, as if we had been doing this for years. In the truck, she curled up on the passenger seat and released the deepest sigh I have ever heard from any living creature, a sigh that conveyed more than just exhaustion. It said, "I made it." The drive home was silent. There was no music, only her soft breathing and my hand resting on the seat between us, close enough for her to lean against whenever she wanted. And she did. That German Shepherd puppy had been saved from the hottest, most desolate place a soul could be abandoned. And now she was mine. But the truth is, I think I was hers from the very beginning. Every morning when I open the garage door, Scarlet trots in as if she owns the place. She makes a quick tour, sniffing the toolboxes and checking the sunny spot by the back window before settling under my workbench as if it's her second home. And perhaps it is. My clients adore her. Some even bring treats specifically for her. One regular asked if she was that viral puppy. When I confirmed she was, he knelt down and whispered, You've got a miracle on your hands." He was right. It has been 3 months since I brought her home. She is now fully healed, stronger, more playful, and almost entirely without fear. Yet, she still pauses at windows, not with fear, but with a sense of recognition, like a reminder. She'll press her nose to the glass and look out for a moment before turning back to me, as if checking, still here, still safe, always. At night, she curls up beside my bed, her breathing slow and even. Sometimes she dreams, her paws twitching and her nose wiggling, and I wonder if she's reliving that terrible heat, the silence, the waiting. I reach down to touch her back gently, and she settles once more. My kids are smitten with her. My 17-year-old daughter claims Scarlet is the most emotionally intelligent creature on the planet. My son is teaching her tricks. She's awful at rollover, but has mastered stay. Perhaps because just being near is her favorite thing. And as for me, I thought I was the one saving her. I didn't see that she was pulling me out, too. Out of routine, out of silence, out of the numbness I had accepted for years. I didn't realize how desperately I needed something to choose me back. That German Shepherd puppy, once limp and fading in my arms, now wakes me with a cold nose and tail thumps that seem to shake the walls. She doesn't just share my home. She brings me back to life every single day. This little girl's journey from abandonment to rescue illustrates the immense power of compassion. Scarlet was just a helpless, lonely puppy, fading away in the heat behind locked glass. But one person stopped. One person cared. And that single act changed everything. Caring for a rescued animal is about more than just affection. It involves responsibility, vigilance, and proper pet care. It means listening when no one else can hear the cry for help and choosing to act when others keep walking. It's about understanding that saving one life can, in turn, change your own. Scarlet showed me that healing isn't merely about survival. It's about building trust and learning that not all doors remain shut and not all people will turn away. If her story has touched you, please consider sharing it. You never know who might see it, or what silent life is still waiting on the other side of the glass.